Are you ready? Stand by.
Hey everybody, I'm Dave Hartman, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Three Gun Show, the world's largest three-gun podcast. This is episode 237 with Bill Corcoran and Joe Farewell. This podcast is really cool because we recorded it late Sunday night after a 2-day level 2 three-gun class taught by Joe. And Joe has a company called Farewell Firearms Training, and I put links to all Joe's stuff in the show notes, so you can check it out there. It's just 3gunshow.com/237. Or just search for Farewell or Corcoran or something like that, and it'll pop up if you're looking in the future. Anyway, Joe does training for 3-gun at his home range in Florida, and he also travels around the country holding customized classes. Bill hosted a class in Houston, and I was lucky enough to attend myself. The class was awesome. Every single student there was completely blown away by what they were able to do at the end of it, judging by the testimonials. So in this podcast, the three of us recap the class and have a larger conversation on the importance of training to your game. This show is definitely going to make you reevaluate what you're doing to make yourself a better three-gunner, so enjoy this podcast with Bill Corcoran and Joe Farewell. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Should we try that again, or was that good?
I was good with it.
All right.
The high-pitched voice, though.
We're rolling with it then. Bill, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for having us in your wonderful office here.
Of course, Dave. Thanks for you guys coming down to Texas and drinking all my whiskey and doing some good training down here.
Yeah.
Enjoying our Texas weather, right?
Yeah, so I heard you had a problem with a lot of whiskey in your office, and you need to get rid of it.
Apparently.
So here we are.
Apparently, right. So
and we're helping.
Knocking it out.
We are here to serve.
There you
Yes,
go.
we're here
There
for you,
go.
buddy.
Hey, it's all good. That's what it's for.
And chiming in there is Joe Farewell. Joe, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm enjoying a beautiful balmy day in Texas. Coming from Florida, it's not too much different, but it is a whole lot nicer than my counterparts up on the north side of the U.S. up there.
Yeah, no kidding. So by the way, great to see you. It's been a long time.
It has been, dude. It's
Yeah.
been way too long
And you
since
too,
we shot
Bill.
together.
We saw each other hard as hell, but we were on different squads, so we didn't get to chat very much. But, Joe, I'm trying to remember when the last time we saw each other. Was it Vortex Shooter Source?
I think so.
We
I think
talk
that was
on
the
the
last
phone
time.
all the time, so it's kind of like misleading.
Yeah. No, I mean, the conversation never really ends with us, but
well, and that's the beauty of social media these
Yeah.
days. Like even the goofy meme sharing and
there's never any end to that at all.
it's true. Was it Vortex Shooter Source?
I think it was, because after that it was we started rolling into Pro-Am and some of the other
and I
the
didn't go to
Eastern
Pro-Am
sides.
this
Yeah, I shot a lot of Eastern matches, and Vortex Shooter Source was the last time we shot together.
That is the last time. Wow,
March?
It's been a long time.
No, May of last year.
No, it was April last year.
Okay, yeah,
It's May this year.
yeah. It's been a while.
Damn, it's great to see you, my friend.
I didn't even think about that until just now.
I
Until
know.
you brought that up.
So,
I didn't really miss you though.
because the reason I bring that up is at Vortex Shooter Source. You remember it was raining and it was like a little chilly, and
Yeah.
we had that
Day
huge,
one was
yeah,
cold.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
cold
we had
as
that
hell.
huge storm come in where I don't know, like people lost their houses and shit from all the hail, but like somehow we got lucky, but we got chased off the range because like all the ROs just like beat feet, and we're like, I think we should get out of here, but we're just hanging out under that.
That was
steel
some
awning.
of the sketchiest lightning I've ever been around. We had lightning all around us. We had hail that was just terrifying, and then it was flooding. Like we had so much water.
Which is when I learned that if there is local RO staff and they do something like
run,
I
Yeah.
don't know, run from bears. Like if you're at Rocky Mountain 3-gun, or they load up their trucks and get out of the bays, like flooding's coming. Do what the ROs do. Do what the locals do. Yeah, that was a good lesson. But the reason I bring that up is to give you a hard time, because the last 2 days we've been hanging out here, it's been like freaking cold.
Yeah.
For where we're at. And nobody complains more about the temperature, well, aside from me.
Then Dave Hartman.
Nobody complains more about the temperature than someone from Florida.
I don't know. There were other people in the class this weekend that
I don't mean the class.
That were.
I mean before that.
Before that.
Yeah, like when we met at the hotel and.
Okay, it was freaking cold at the hotel, dude. I was out there trying to help you unload your truck, and you're sitting there wanting to talk, and I'm like, dude, let's like take it inside.
In my defense, Bill, all I said was hello, Joe.
It was cold.
He's like, dude, let's take this inside.
It was cold.
For here.
For here.
Yeah.
Yes.
You keep saying that. You know how it is in Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Like in the summer, it's 80, feels like 120.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. In the winter, it's 40, feels like it's 40 below.
Yeah.
It's freaking crazy.
All that, all those jokes of like, it's not the heat, it's the humidity, like really went past me as like a Coloradoan who didn't travel my entire life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And now living in Texas, it's like, I go outside and I'm like, holy crap, it's cold. And I have to like put a coat on and look at the temperature. It's like 50 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, why is 50 cold? What the F?
Yep. Because of the humidity.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally is. But like, dude, 50 in Colorado, like you're wearing shorts.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And 50 in Minnesota, you're like, it's summer.
They're wearing shorts.
They're wearing shorts.
To be honest, like 20 in Minnesota, they're wearing shorts.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
AMAX
There's
specifically.
a special breed of people up there.
Yeah, when they had that polar vortex, AMAX had a video of him walking to the gym in shorts. Like, what is wrong with you, boy?
I missed that one.
Oh, my God.
Ruben sent me a picture of the thermometer, and it was 38 below. And where I was, it was 62 degrees. I'm like, that's exactly 100 degrees difference. Like 100 degrees difference.
That's nearly 100 degrees difference.
No, 38 and 62 is 100 degrees difference.
Okay, I'm going to give you that one. I thought you said 60. My bad. I wasn't
He
listening.
did the math.
So the So the funny thing was yesterday, I was miserable because so we should kind of take a step back here and tell people what we're doing here, right?
Probably.
So we're in Houston ish. Do you call this
Ish.
Houston?
Yeah.
It's greater Houston.
Call it Houston so they don't know where we really are.
Oh, okay.
Undisclosed location.
Undisclosed location.
Underground bunker.
Possibly Houston.
Houston area.
By the way, no underground bunkers in Texas because of the water table.
Yeah, well,
just saying.
You'd drown.
Yeah. All bunkers are above ground in Texas.
It's a 4-story bunker, okay?
Yeah.
We're in the penthouse.
We're in the penthouse bunker near Houston, and ish. And we just took a 2-day class. It was a farewell firearms training class. We'll get into that in a minute here. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of set the stage. So we spent 2 days on the range. Today was delightful. Yesterday was chilly, and so much so, like, I was freaking miserable. I kept going to my truck and finding any article of clothing that I left in there to put on.
How many layers did you have on,
Dude,
Dave?
Okay. So I had, I've got like a tech shirt thing, like REI kind of thing that I would go mountain climbing in, to keep the sun off of you. So it's a long sleeve, dry wicking sort of thing. Then I had a jersey on, like a shooter's jersey. And then I had my maxed jersey hoodie, like with all the 3-Gun Show stuff on it. Mm-hmm. And then I had a Vortex sweatshirt, zip-up sweatshirt. And then I had another Vortex zip-up hoodie on top of that. And then I found a tactical shit shemag that they gave us 2 years ago at Texas 3-Gun Championship. I'm pretty sure, like, I used that to clean a gun one time, but I wrapped that around my neck like a scarf. And a buddy gave me a Magpul beanie. I had that on. I had 2 pairs of socks.
So what you're saying, Dave, is you look straight up homeless as hell.
Actually, he looked like if the entire 3-gun industry had sponsored a homeless person. That pretty much sum it up there, Dave.
It's the 3-gun industry Michelin man right there.
It reminded me of that episode of Friends where, like, Joey puts on all Chandler's
all of his clothes.
That was me, and I was still like shivering while we were doing stuff. And I kept asking Joe, like, "Can we do some movement drills?" He's like, "No, those are tomorrow." I'm like, "Please, dude."
I consented. We did some movement drills.
We did, yeah. Well, yeah, it was. It was.
You were a very unique bundle of Dave.
Yeah, I was cold.
Yeah.
And I somehow talked Bill out of some hand warmers that after like 4 hours I was convinced were broken and they weren't working. And I was like putting them up against my like forehead and my cheeks. I'm like, these are not even working at all. And then when we finally got inside for lunch, after like 20 minutes of warming up, I realized like
they were
oh
hot
my
as
God,
hell.
these are hot. Yeah. Like, have I been burning my skin this whole time?
Just completely desensitized, and it's 40 degrees.
Yeah, that was the weird
it was
part.
40 degrees.
Yeah, we're like 40 degrees in 40 degrees in Colorado. It's higher elevation, super dry. Chances are it's going to be like a little bit sunny, so you get radiant heat, and then radiant energy, and so then you can go on the range.
Yeah,
no big deal, but. Dude, yesterday it was cloudy, like there was no sun.
We had a little mist coming in.
Somehow I still got sunburned.
Texas.
Yeah, but only where the scarf wasn't. So now I got like a weird. So yeah, it was a fun couple days. It was a fun day on the range, freezing my booty off.
There have been some worse days on the range that I've had.
There have been, yeah.
Vortex shooter source pouring down lightning and hail was one of those, but. No,
I don't think we had a major match this year in Texas or this last season in Texas that did not have a torrential downpour.
Yep.
Did Texas 3-gun championship have a torrential downpour?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
It did?
Yep.
Must have been on the off schedule for me.
Yeah,
then.
no, it was like, yeah, it was.
Yeah, because
so it hit in the morning and then the afternoon, or it was the other way. It hit in the afternoon. Our squads got hammered. Everybody else got off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then Vortex was just a deluge.
Yeah.
And Hard as Hell, Texas was a mud bog. It was insane.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was crazy.
You know what's nuts? In St. George this year for Hard as Hell, it was, I think there was snow in the morning, I think. And then there was rain. No. There wasn't snow in the morning. There was snow, like, just above eye level. You know how...
right, on the ridge back there.
Yeah, on the ridge back there.
Right.
Exactly.
Where you're shooting the white targets.
Exactly.
Like, really? So they're up there, huh? Yeah, I just got to trust you on that. All right. Thanks, RO.
No, it wasn't that bad. But, like, the surrounding mountains, like, you could tell it snowed. But it had rained overnight. And it was a little cold and wet there. But it wasn't like it was yesterday.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yesterday was, like...
Like it
is that what-
sucks the
it's
will to live, right?
Yes,
out of you.
seriously.
Yeah, it does.
Bone chilling cold,
Yeah.
and it's not that cold, but it's bone chilling.
Yeah. It's like just sitting in a cold pool.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
A cold pool of Houston-ish.
Yeah. By the way, Houston's interesting. This place.
This place is
Seen
something else.
some shit.
Yeah, both sides of it. Because I've been out here for almost a week now, and been on both sides of Houston and all the way through the middle of it, and there's some really interesting parts of Houston, guys.
There's some things that I saw that I have not seen.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do
Like
tell.
what?
I'll tell you after the podcast. We have junior shooters.
Oh, gotcha.
Listen to the show. But yeah, there's it's if you took someone, you dropped them in like the middle of Austin, and took them around, showed them around, and then black bagged them, threw them in a van, unhood them in Houston, they would think they were in a different country.
Well, but, I mean, that kind of thing happens every day, doesn't it?
Does it?
In Austin to Houston?
Yeah.
Does it?
Well, it goes the other way. We don't like them here, so we send them to Austin.
That makes sense.
We have Bill's black bag service.
Black bag.
We got a van.
I'm just saying.
bag
I'm
says
just saying it's like
free kittens.
It's just completely different.
There are parts of downtown Houston that
Yeah.
you don't want to be walking around in at
Any hour?
Yeah.
Well, and then the other thing is, so last time I was here, I went to Rodeo Houston, which
is coming up, by the way.
dude, we
Oh,
need to talk
absolutely.
about that because we got to go. But
We should do a podcast from there.
we should because and business write off.
Hey.
There you go.
But it's a mind-boggling experience. Rodeo Houston is absolutely incredible. But driving into downtown, where the Coliseum is, I was like blown away. And so luckily, Jessica Collier, I went with her, and she drove, thank God, because I'm like looking at the buildings like, what in the F? Like, this is incredible. And then you go to Dallas, which, you watch Dallas on TV in the 80s and everything. And, oh, yeah, Dallas is a big city. And Dallas is nothing compared to Houston.
Yeah.
You can't talk about the 80s with Joe here.
Right.
He's got no frame of reference.
Huh?
Joe's
So there was this really old show back in the 80s called Dallas.
Thanks.
You're
Thanks.
welcome.
There was this
Grandpa,
guy named
appreciate
JR, and he got shot, and no one knew who shot him. And then
Still don't.
what it was contract negotiations, turns out, and it turns out it was just a dream. Anyway, now you're caught up.
Yeah, I'm so confused.
That one's for the adults.
Wow. Fair enough. I'll let the adults play. It's all right. Oh, good times.
Yeah. We so that for people listening at home, you just got like a a little glimpse into like our entire weekend. We've had so much fun.
Been a good time.
Oh my goodness!
There's been a
on the
lot
range.
of crap talking.
Yeah.
Both directions, backwards and forwards.
Oh man, it's been so much fun too. So we're on the range for Joe Farewell level 2 ninja warrior class, right?
No, 3-gun.
3-gun class, right?
Yeah.
Ninja Warrior was last night.
That's right. I mixed them up. So
With
we
the whiskey.
watched Ninja Warrior. Should we clarify that?
Well, why you gotta say that for? I was like gonna bring up whiskey and rope climbs and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
you do have a jungle gym out back.
I've got the gym out back. Got to get ready for the tactical games coming up.
Just
So
as advertised.
I climb that rope a lot better when I drink some whiskey first.
Oh, should we go climb it after this?
Oh, totally.
Definitely
Okay.
going to happen, yeah. 100%.
All right. We just figured out the bonus material for the podcast. How long are these cords?
Rope climb. Yes.
All right. So
Do it for the gram.
So we're here. Sorry, let's get back on track. So we're here for the level 2 3-gun class, and we had a group of 7 other dudes that are not here. Is that right? There was 10 of us total.
No, 9 of us total, so 6 other guys.
Okay. Oh, that's weird. I kept thinking one guy was missing every time I counted. Like, someone's using the bathroom.
The entire time.
I have literally had a sip of this whiskey here.
It's good stuff.
It is.
Yeah, that good, apparently.
Yeah. Bill, so you were the host of this class.
Correct.
Joe's been out teaching. Give me your phone. If this isn't interesting enough for you,
It's my wife.
Are we boring you?
Not at all.
honey, podcasting, be right back. BRB.
BRB. I know what
So,
that means. Joe
yeah.
taught me.
And that was a level 3 emoji class.
Level 3 emoji. Level 3 social media. I got this.
All right, Bill. So you're the host of the level 2 3-gun class,
Right.
So why reach out to Joe? Why bring a training class in, and why in February?
So actually, Joe and I, it was kind of funny. You were talking about, you haven't seen Joe in about a year. It was almost a year ago at Pro-Am that we got together, and it rained there too, right?
It did.
So I was shooting the stage at the vehicle where everybody was getting stuck way off the side there. And I'm shooting a stage, and it's in the rain, right? We just get a freaking downpour.
That good Kentucky mud.
Oh man,
it's so
it was
sticky.
nasty, and it like was kind of drizzling. I get out there, and it just drops. I mean, the bottom falls out, and so I shoot it. I did all right given the circumstances. I mean, it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse. So I finish, and I managed to get out of there, and I go to the next stage, and I saw that Joe had tagged me on Instagram. And I was like, oh, cool. So I saw that. So, I text him, and I'm like, just sort of shooting the bull back and forth. And we met at the award ceremony. We got to talking while we were waiting. And I said, I'd love to come out and train with you. I like what you're doing. I see the stuff that you're doing, and I'd love to come out and train with you. And Joe said, well, why don't we put something together, and I'll come to you. And I was like, well, that's a great idea. I hadn't even thought about that. So this year I've really committed to taking another step in my training, right? Trying to break through the plateaus by getting with guys who are providing the training, right? And so Joe was really kind of the first one that started last year, and I was like, I'm going to do that. So we kept talking back and forth, and we decided, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Well, February is when everything's cold, right? I mean, even here in Texas, but normally it's not.
Yeah.
So I was like,
and it's like a slight dead spot.
Right. It's the one point when, like, everybody, right, in Florida, us here in Texas, the ones who normally would have some stuff going on, it kind of dies out for a few weeks. And it's a great opportunity to, get people together, get them thinking about the season again, right? Because this is the time of year we just had SHOT Show.
Yeah.
Right? So people are starting to think about it again. People are ordering jerseys. People are contacting sponsors, and they're starting to thinking again. And down here, you're starting to see people showing up on the range that you haven't seen out for, 6 months or whatever. And they're like, this is going to be the year I get back into it. So we decided that we would do it here in February and, try to put some people together to come out that were serious about taking their game to the next level, right? Exactly what I talked about. That, are you ready to commit to training? Are you ready to commit to doing something different, right? I mean, nothing changes if you don't change. So start changing yourself, right? And if you just keep doing the same things over and over, you just keep getting the same results, which is what really motivated me to contact Joe and some others about training, because you keep doing the same thing, you keep going out to the range and shooting the same drills, and then you go to Texas 3-gun, and for 3 years in a row, you're like number 58, 59, 60. You're not getting any better.
Which is coming up at the end of March.
In
a month away, month and a half away.
Yeah.
And that's that for a lot of people. That's the kickoff to the 3-gun season with that early match. Early March. Most places it's still frozen.
Yeah,
frozen over.
Superstition and Texas 3-gun are always like really early season. And last year, unfortunately, they were on top of each other. But it's like the kickoff of the Texas season for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely is. So it just seemed like a good time to get people out, get them thinking about getting back into the game. And if you're going to get back in the game, what better way than to start out with some training, right?
Yeah.
We all have rust. We all, just about everybody sits around for a month or two, right? And especially if you're up north, and you might do some indoor PSA matches or IDPA or whatever to kind of knock the rust off, but the 3-gun season really, doesn't start hitting people's minds until after SHOT Show.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
we thought that this would be a good way to bring people together and give them an opportunity. I told Joe, I said, I'm going to pay for you to come down here either way, right? Because I'm committed to doing the training. But let's see if we can get some people together. And we managed to, get 6 people who were fired up. It was a good group. I mean,
it was an awesome group.
Awesome group
Super
of guys.
Fun.
We had a great time, right? I mean,
luckily they all had really good senses of humor.
I didn't know what any of them looked like until today, because everybody's wearing face masks and hats and everything.
Yeah,
else, right?
yesterday was kind of creepy. They could have all been a bunch of feds trying to get me to tell some secrets.
All wearing the ATF hat.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how it came
say
about.
more.
do talk. Mm-hmm. So that's how it came about.
Dave, do you know where we can get a large amount of fertilizer?
Some diesel.
I know a guy.
Joe, come on. Joe's a former police officer. Wait, no, current police officer.
Current, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right.
Joe knows all kinds of unsavory characters.
Indeed I do, including a few that are sitting in the room right now.
Oh, hey.
Love you, buddy.
Not cool.
He's talking about you, Parker.
So, yeah. My dog is, freaking out in this because we're, trapped in a room, and he wants to go play with Bill's dog, and Bill's dog will
eat him.
Yeah. In one bite. Yep. So a few weeks ago, it was a few weeks ago, wasn't it? I saw a post on Facebook, and I sent you a message. I'm like, dude, you're going to be in Texas.
Yeah.
That means you're several tens of hours closer. We should hang out. And I was like, why don't I drive over to Houston? We'll grab some dinner or something. And you're like, why don't you just come to the class?
Yeah.
So I'm always down for a good time. and I could definitely use some trigger time. So so I showed up to the class too, which is awesome. One of the students is actually a patron of the 3-Gun Show.
Yeah. Got his beer.
Yeah, which I looked up the verbiage specifically says for matches.
Yeah.
But I just gave him one that I dropped on the ground. So. It was okay.
You shook it up a little bit?
I didn't shake it up.
No, you just
I
dropped
it. Yeah.
That's okay.
But yeah, so
sorry, James.
Yeah.
I hope you don't open that anytime soon.
No, by the time he hears this, he'll have already drank it. So.
Or it's gonna be sitting on the shelf. Did you sign it at least?
No.
You should do that.
It's a beer, dude.
Yeah, but it's your autograph.
You're like a celebrity.
I am like a celebrity.
I said like.
Yeah, so
not get carried away with yourself.
So that was really cool to meet James and the other dudes to like put some faces to like the ears behind the podcast. Well, all podcast listeners.
It was really cool because this was actually the very first class, and I always, you and I have been good friends for a long time, and I've listened to the show since like episode 3. I think is when I tuned into it. So
they started going downhill, by the way.
No, it really took a nosedive. But no, seriously. So one of the things I ask every one of my classes is who here listens to the 3-Gun Show, and inevitably, at least a percentage of the class does. This was the very first class that the entire class raised their hand. Like, that is awesome. And ironically, it's the one class, and I don't know if everyone was embarrassed that like you were actually there and.
Well, it was kind of awkward how it came about, too, because I showed up late because Google said that, well, you told me, like, oh, we'll kick off about 8:30 or 9. And then Google said it would take
like 25 minutes.
25 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
It took 45 minutes to get there.
Thank you, Houston-ish.
But I was like, I'll show up early. So I ended up getting there like 8:25 or something like that during the like the intro where everyone's like, saying who they are, where they're from, what they hope to get out of the class. And so I go last, and then you say, or I didn't mention, I did the 3-Gun Show because it was early. I was like, I just want to stop talking. I'm so tired right now. But then you said, who here listens to the 3-Gun Show, and they all raised their hand. And then I felt like the biggest fool for like introducing myself to everyone. But it was really cool to see that like in action. It was like, dude, these people not only are like so excited about 3-Gun that they, will listen to the podcast to like, okay, well, what am I going to hear this week? Am I going to hear anything that's going to, make me better and stuff like that? But they're coming out to classes too.
They're willing to put their time aside and actually better their game, right? That's huge for me, and it's huge for you too because you're providing the service to the masses, right? Anyone who is willing to tune in and take the information that you're putting out there, which is quality information, I might add, or at least the guests that you're bringing on, quality information, and you're putting it out there. And these people are taking the time out of their day to listen to it, apply it to their game, and then also go to the next step and put more work in.
So these are people that have raised their hand and said, I want to be better.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen to this podcast in my spare time. And then they raised their hand again and said, not only am I going to do that and invest in myself, but I'm going to go out to a 2-day class. I'm going to commit, travel in some cases, hotel in some cases, tons of ammunition to better myself in this game. And it's cool to see. Give me that. You can't make noise with that. I'm going to keep taking things away from you. It's cool to see people that are raising their hands to make themselves better. It's fun to be around people like that, people that want to excel in life.
Yeah.
It's great.
So basically your show's like the gateway drug.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
It is.
That's exactly what it is.
I'll go back to drinking my whiskey now.
Ironically enough, I've heard several people, I've had people in my classes that have listened to your show that didn't do 3-Gun beforehand, and this was the gateway drug.
Oh man,
it really is. It's kind of cool because you're giving people not just a peek, right? I mean, so you're going to get some people who have either come from some other shooting sport or you get that a lot. People who are coming over from other shooting sports, or I talk to a lot of veterans, right? I mean, I'm plugged into the veteran community. I'm a veteran. My brother's a veteran. We got tons of friends who shoot who are veterans, and where do you go for the information, right? And inevitably they end up one way or another hearing one of your podcasts, and they start getting the information there. And the thing that was cool this weekend was seeing kind of that full circle, right? Of, all right, so I've gone to the podcast, and I mean, there were several people in there that have, like Joe was saying, been with you since episode 3 or episode 5 or, just years.
Yeah, one guy said that he started listening, I forgot what it was, but it was in the 100s and something, and he went back and listened to them all.
Every one of them.
It's a lot of hours
give me
to
a
listen
hug.
to.
Holy cow.
It's a lot of hours.
Yeah, well,
it's a lot of information.
When you're talking about over, this is our 4th year. So when you talk about it over 4 years, it's not that much. But when you're listening to it back to back to back to back, you've dedicated 100 hours of the last, 2 months, 3 months? I don't know how long that takes.
It's like binge watching.
Yeah, seriously.
It's like binge listening to the 3-Gun Show. That's kind of terrifying.
I know.
So,
it's like a big
I've
responsibility. It's like, I'm sorry for what I said in episode 38, 424. You haven't heard that one yet.
So, yeah, I mean, it was cool to see that full circle of people who had come in, basically getting the free information.
Yeah.
And then seeing the value of, you know what, I'm going to make an investment in my time and money to pay somebody to help me up my game, right? To help me step to that next level and go to that next plateau, right? And break out of wherever they were at. And, I think in a lot of ways your program offers a lot of services to the community at large, but also to trainers like Joe, who, they hold so much information. We saw so much growth this weekend from people. I mean, it was amazing, right? I mean, myself included. I mean, there was stuff I was just like, wow, crap. I mean, I had never even thought of how to put some of this stuff in that context. And to see people make that jump from, listening to a podcast, right, which is an investment of time, but that's about it. You know?
They don't have any skin in the game.
Right.
It comes right to their iPhone for free.
Exactly. I mean, now they've got to take the action from there, and they may hear, some of the stuff that you guys were talking about with Josh and Josh, right?
Yeah.
And some of the really cool stuff that those guys are putting out there. But you've got to translate that, right? And then you've got to put it to work in your own living room or wherever it is that you're doing this stuff in the winter. And for guys like Joe and the other trainers who are out there, this gives them kind of an audience that's primed, right? That is like, and that was one of the things that kind of kept hitting me through the weekend was that these guys had been primed all this time through the podcast, through going to matches and talking to people and stuff to finally come to that realization that, you know what, I can pay for my own experience by going to match after match after match. And we all know, I mean, you go to a major match, it's $1,000, right? By the time you pay for entry fees and flights and food and hotel.
Yeah, on the low end,
you're dropping $1,000, right? And you go to 4 or 5 matches that are major matches, and you keep finishing, middle of the pack, and you never go any higher. Well, are you getting a return on your investment? You're not, right? But you pay a trainer, $500 or $700, whatever it is, to get some training, and you move up 10 spots at the next major. I mean, you talk about the return on the investment.
Yeah,
it was so cool to see people get that this weekend. And to see, I mean, some of the times that I mean, the one guy that, the one drill went
31
from
seconds,
a 31-second drill
to 20 seconds.
To, right at 20 seconds.
That's
I mean,
incredible. Knocked
in
a whole
one
third,
drill.
more than a third off of his time.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It is insane.
How many matches, how many, training sessions with his buddies, right, does it take for him to trial and error his way through 10 seconds on a 30-second stage? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? But in 2 days, Joe's got this guy going from, 30 seconds, and it was rough, and it was a freaking slow-motion train wreck, right? And I can say that because I was one freaking train wreck after another all weekend, right? But you could see stuff starting to progress and get better. To do that for what you're paying in time and money versus going out and spending all of that money going to match after match and never getting the results. I mean, it was cool to see that out of people. That it was what I told you earlier, that look, people need to realize you're either going to pay for your own experience. You're either going to buy your own experience, or you can rent his.
Yeah, and early on in my 3-gun career, I took a couple classes. I want to say like I was a year in, and I took an intro class. So it was like for people with no sort of experience whatsoever, and I still learned stuff from that class.
100%.
Yeah, and then and that was Mark Pasmanic and James Casanova from Colorado, and then we followed up. A group of my friends and I taught Casanova into doing like a private training for us one day, and I think that was 2 or 3 months later or something like that. But man, from those 2 classes, early on in my shooting career, I still draw on stuff like that they told me, which is incredible to think about because like that was 2012, 7 years ago, and I'm still like on a stage and I'm thinking, all right, so here's what I need to do, and that's something that Pasmanic said, and that's something that Casanova said, and the amount of headaches and trial and error and effing up on my own that saved me is huge. And my buddy Bill that put the class with Casanova said it best, and you said almost something exactly the same. My other buddy Bill here at Corcoran said something almost exactly the same, but it was you're taking that learning curve and you're chopping off part of it, and you're bringing it down. And
that's what Joe said yesterday during the introduction. He said, "My goal is to collapse that learning curve for you."
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I want to do. Is my goal for people is to take what I've learned over the past 9 years of competing, and try to take that and collapse it into 2 days, so at least we can take off that first year, 2, 3 years of trial and error, screw ups, little things that you pick up from every single match, and put it together in a condensed form.
I seriously think, some of those guys, you propelled them forward 3 years.
Oh yeah,
from where they would have been, because I've gone the hard route where it's like, no, I'm going to learn it myself, or I'm going to train and hang out with my friends. Which I've always surrounded myself with people who are far better shooters than I am, which isn't a difficult task.
Stop.
But
we'll take that microphone away from you.
So, I've always tried to find people who shoot better than me, and I've been lucky. I get to shoot with Nick Miller and Lanwin and Michael Whitesides, and those guys are all phenomenal shooters. But the thing is, it becomes kind of an echo chamber, right?
Yeah.
So you do the same things all the time, and they're great shooters. And Michael and Land, I remember when they were really working for their stuff in USPSA, and they were doing the 1,000 rounds a week is what they were doing. I mean, it was crazy. Land's hands were so tore up from his pistol. I mean, I remember shaking hands with him, and I was like, "What, you been like sliding up and down like hemp ropes or something? Are you like freaking weaving palm leaves?" I'm like, it was crazy, right? So those guys were doing the work, but the thing is, sometimes you get caught in that echo chamber where you're training with the same people doing the same things.
So along those same lines, Bill, I noticed last year I was walking stages with several top shooters at Texas 3-Gun Championship, and finally I just had to like let them go, and like I'm just gonna do my own thing, because they were doing like, oh, this is like that one stage of this, and like, yeah, okay, cool, and then
that's their walkthrough.
That was their walkthrough, and they had like a set vernacular, and like you said, it becomes like an echo chamber. So they had so much experience shooting all over the country together for like the last 10 years that they were getting a feel for it, and they were talking in like community speak, kind of, where like everybody knows what's going on here, so there's no reason to articulate it. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't have that shared experience with you because I didn't shoot the 3-Gun Nation Pro Series and this and that, so I'm going to go ahead and just walk all these stages myself. But you're right. Like there is a point where you need to get out of that echo chamber in your little group, no matter how good your group is, right?
Exactly.
And see it from a fresh set of eyes.
Well, and the thing when you hire a coach in anything, right? Whether it's a life coach, a business coach, a CrossFit, right? One of the things that when you're paying them, one of the things you expect is that honest assessment. And your buddies, they may rib you and give you a hard time, but they're not going to like slap you upside the head and be like, "What the hell were you thinking? I just told you, right? This is the way to dump the rifle into the barrel.
You say that with experience.
Exactly. I mean, it's, I've been dumping a rifle in the barrel the same way for 5 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, same here.
And this weekend it completely changed because somebody was willing to slap me upside the head and go, no, I just told you to do it this way. Try it and see how much fast. And it blew me away.
Yeah.
Took 2 seconds off of my stage time with just that one transition. And you just don't get that a lot of times when you're just training with your friends, right? And one of the things that Lan and Michael, actually were a big part of how this whole thing came about because they've gone to Max Michel's workshops. They've gone to, JJ's stuff. And so they're always getting outside of their echo chamber and out of their comfort zone.
You know what else Lan and Mike do is they get out of 3-gun.
You bet.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's a big deal. So that's and part of what you should really focus on too is not just the 3-gun side of things, but expand your horizons on every level, right? Every level, every part of your life as you see it, right? We all have an echo chamber. We all have those people that tell us, "Hey, good run," or "Hey, great job at what you're doing right now."
Good dinner, honey.
Good dinner, exactly. Okay, sometimes you have to say,
What?
"Look, that dinner
That's
was."
the thing. What are you laughing at, Bill? You don't tell your wife good dinner when you don't mean it?
No.
Bill's gonna be brutally honest. I know that.
That sucked. You want me to order out or?
Oh my god.
We got to meet Kelly the other night.
She's an angel.
And
She's awesome.
she is
She's
amazing.
the best.
To be able to put up with you,
I am so blessed. It's
you
not
are so
funny.
out of your league.
Every day I'm like,
Yeah.
totally married up.
Oh yeah.
I hate the word lucky because I think you make your own luck. Of
course you do.
Yeah.
I think you're lucky to have a wife like that, Bill.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah,
There's no question.
no question about
Anybody who knows me is just like, I don't know what the hell she sees in you, but whatever.
that. So going back to what I was saying though, like taking yourself out of your own realm.
Yeah.
And pushing yourself in areas that you weren't necessarily focused on. So the 2 days I had planned this trip out with Bill. We planned on February, and we've been talking about this for months now. Months and months and months. Way back, we kind of figured out some dates. We put it together, and now this has come to fruition. I booked flights. I booked a hotel, and then I saw that there was a class coming up put on by JJ Racaza. And JJ Racaza is a phenomenal shooter, world-class shooter. He won USPSA Nationals, at least 2 of them, and then one overall back in October. And just seriously a stand-up guy. And I've talked to him many times outside of the matches and whatnot. But I saw he was putting on a law enforcement military class here in Houston the 2 days leading up to my class. Mm-hmm. So I went and changed my flights and came out to his class the 2 days before, shot a whole bunch as a student, turned around and was able to apply a lot of that information that I was able to get from JJ to not only my game, because I'm always trying to improve my game, right? There's no, the beautiful thing about 3-gun is there's no top level, right? There's no, I made it. There's no 100% score. There's always room.
People that are like quote unquote at the top, they're always pushing.
You have to.
You have those other people like nipping at your heels.
I was going to say, because if you don't, you got Nate at your heels. You got, Yackley at your heels. You got these.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
that was a joke. Okay, Riley's good.
That was a joke?
That was.
What do you mean?
We can't take you anywhere. No, you always have young guys nipping at your heels.
What just happened there?
But if you're
Those
not,
are
if you're
three
not,
guys you have to watch out for.
They are, absolutely.
They really are. And the thing is, you look deeper in the field from them, and there's more. There's a wave of them. I mean, these young junior shooters that are out there now are amazing. We were just talking about Dakota.
Yeah.
I mean, that kid has absolutely blown up in the last year. I mean,
It's
saw her
incredible.
at the beginning of 2018 at a match, and then I saw her at Texas, Hard as Hell, Texas. It's like 2 completely different shooters.
Putting in the work.
It was amazing.
Putting in the work.
There's very few people out there that are ever going to outwork her.
Yep.
Right? I mean, she just absolutely getting it done. So you're right. I mean, it's that's why there's no top to this game, right? Because there's always somebody who's right there at your heels.
You can always shoot faster or more accurately, right? Or both. Sometimes it's both, frankly. But
most of the time.
Most of the time,
the
pretty much
classic
all
thing
the
is
time
like
for
there's
me.
no perfect stage, right? It's not like you can score 100,
Yeah.
and it's the okay, you did it, you completed the task.
Yeah,
know?
there is no there's always time on the clock, and there's always hits out there.
And there's always time to be shaved.
Always,
Yep.
always. I mean, have either of you guys ever run a stage and come off of it and been like, "Yep, that was the best stage ever. Couldn't you do any better than that?" No.
Well, once. And
And then did somebody beat you on that stage?
I followed Josh Freilich for all of Hard as Hell.
Oh yeah. How was that for you?
Humiliating. It was like the time at the Lucas Oil PCC Championships where I shot with it was basically like a celebrity squad.
Yeah.
It was some of them were ROs and most of them were media, like the people from Shooting USA and stuff like that. And I shot with the Stewarts, and Maddie Stewart was in front of me all day, right? And so Shooting USA sets up their big ass tripods and their big cameras, and she shoots, and then they go up to her with the microphone and talk to her, and then I'm standing in the box, and RO's like, make ready, and then they scatter like cockroaches.
They collapse the tripods and pull
really?
the
You guys
camera.
don't want to watch me shoot?
But I'm Dave Hartman.
Dave who? Oh, we love you, Dave. It's all right.
Starting to wonder,
best.
Joe.
It's true.
Oh.
It's absolutely true. I mean, there's always. It's what I think makes three guns so attractive. It's kind of it's sporting clays. There's never it's the pursuit of the unattainable, right?
The sporting clays, there is a perfect score.
There is.
There's a perfect
right?
score. Yep.
So the comparison between something like that and what we do, right? The complexity of and the mix of skills, and that was one of the things that you talked about. That there's nowhere else in the shooting sports that you have this particular mix of such diverse skills. And we learned that this weekend when you're talking about just the difference in how you're managing the stage when you have the pistol versus the shotgun.
Yeah.
Right. One of them you're extremely you're working that front sight, where the other one it's just you're getting on that area. The way that with a rifle you're shooting the rifle on the move, and your whole body mechanics is different than it is when you're shooting the shotgun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And then you throw in aerial clays on top of that. Right. So hey, sure, why not? Let's throw a little sporting clays on top of you just ran 200 yards up a hill doing a absolute barrel burning stage running up with your rifle. Dump that, pick up your shotgun, and then what Kurt did to us 2 years ago at Texas Three Gun with you had freaking birds flying all over the place. I mean, the sky just turns orange, and you're like, I guess I'll just start shooting here because freaking birds everywhere in the air.
Well, that's what a third gunner says when they see flying birds.
Yeah, just spray and pray, right? I mean, it's just,
there's no other shooting sport that takes every discipline of the shooting sports and puts into one game, right? And that's why we love three gun, because no matter how good you get at pistol, there's 2, 4, 6 other disciplines you have to work on: long range, flying clays, shotgun, quick rifle, precision pistol. All of those things come into play. The bullseye shooting, like that's all part of it, right?
When you think about like just rifle only, it's so I actually got into three gun so I could shoot my rifle, and there's like the super fast speed stuff like you saw on television on Three Gun Nation, with really close targets and everything.
Yep.
And then in these Texas matches, there's shots out to 550 yards, and those are two completely different set of skills
in the same sport.
And then you throw in like, offhand rifle at 7,500 yards, and then Generation 3 gun a couple of years ago, they had like 140-yard offhand shot.
Yeah.
No, offhand rifle shot. Excuse me.
That's a poke.
Yeah. By the way, it's weird when people say that. That's a poke. Is that a Southern thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Welcome
to the South.
Does that mean that's a long way away?
Yes, it is.
What that means? Okay.
That's exactly what it means. That is a long way away.
In Colorado, we say that's far.
There's some really depth. There's some real depth behind that statement.
Yeah, it must be.
That's far.
So anyway, along with rifle, so there's so many skills involved in three gun. Like it always feels like whack-a-mole. When you're like, man, My long range game is really coming into its own here. And all of a
Your
sudden
pistol game's gone.
well, yeah, not only is your pistol game gone, but you're super slow on your offhand rifle because you're taking too much time to prep the trigger because you're using the skills from that,
Right.
you know, and it's difficult to, as an individual, keep up all those skills at once. But so you need some help eventually.
Well, I think you do. I think you have to have the coaching. You have to have somebody, who's willing to step in there and say, look, here's some things that work that you're not doing, that you can't see, right? And especially if you don't know. I mean, it was one of the biggest things this weekend. I was like, everybody here learned that they didn't know what they didn't know.
Yep.
I mean, that was huge. It was like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't even know I didn't know that, right? And, I've been shooting for 5 years, and I'm like, oh, well, crap, I guess I should do that because that's a lot faster than the nonsense I've been doing, right? And so it's just you didn't know what you didn't know. You don't know that until somebody's willing to coach you. And it's interesting to me that people are willing to spend $1,000 to go to a major match, and they haven't invested $500 or $700 or $1,000 to improve themselves, right? And they'll think that they have because, well, I spent $1,000 on ammo. Well, what'd you do with it? Right?
Yeah.
Because you sucked just as much this year as you did last year.
Just made a
So
lot of
what'd you do?
noise.
You just made a bunch of holes and turned bullets into brass. I mean, you didn't make any progress. And one of the things that struck me with the training this weekend was how much efficient effort and result Joe would get out of the 6-round drill.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when we ran the walls, I was like, I do that all the time, right?
Right.
But I think most people don't get that with just 6 rounds, you're getting more done in that one little drill to work on movement and sight acquisition and, weapon manipulation in 30 seconds with 6 rounds than some guy who's standing out there and just banging away at a target, all day long and goes through 150 rounds.
So there's a reason behind that, okay? I've come from a very, very budget-minded approach to 3-gun. Okay, I've always shot on a budget because of the way that my life has progressed as a full-time law enforcement officer and family man, wife,
Father of
kids,
2.
father of 2, right? And
Got a
so
dog.
balling on a budget, right? That's one of those things that I've had to play my ammo budget out to maximize the training value per round. I need to make sure that every time I pull that trigger, I'm getting something out of it. And so the way that I've customized my own training for me has always been based off of how much training value can I get out of every time I pull the trigger. Okay? And so everything I've done is focused on that. There's those high round count drills have its place. Shooting JJ's class, I shot more rounds in 2 days than I think I've ever shot in 2 days, except for like a SWAT school. But that being said, like both of those have their places, but I think there's a really good way to apply not only dry fire, because dry fire is obviously the cheapest training we can get. Right? You can cheaply train a ton if you're doing it right. But one of the, like I said, one of the things that we talk about is practice makes permanent, right? If you're practicing wrong, you're gonna make wrong things permanent. And so especially right now where it's winter in most of the U.S. and we're lucky to be in the South where we have the ability to go out to the range and test things
We had
out.
winter yesterday.
We did have winter yesterday.
That was it.
That
was all of it.
It was
It's over?
Saturday
That's it.
winter.
It's over. That was it.
Friday and Saturday were winter because it was cold as hell on Friday.
Friday was fall.
It was actually in the 30s on Friday, so Joe's not wrong.
No, it was pretty damn cold. But no, so most of the countries in winter right now.
By
Go
the way,
ahead, Dave.
With our temperature comments, we're just jabbing our buddies.
Oh
up
yeah.
north.
Oh,
You know
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Minnesota,
They're like
we
negative
love you.
15.
It's 38 below here,
Yeah.
guys. You guys can shut up about it being 50 degrees now.
Yep.
It was cold. Okay.
They're like, oh, thank God everything got back to normal. It's 12 now. We love you guys.
Embrace the suck.
Come visit us.
Come on down. You guys should have been at Joe's seminar. I'm just saying. Like, you needed another reason. Your weather sucks where you are.
Yeah, there you go. But no, seriously. So a lot of people right now are in that dry fire mode and trying to build their skills. If you don't have a way to gauge what your skills are currently, then how do you train them? Okay. Now, that being said, Dave's done a really good job in building this podcast and giving people a kind of a starting point of a lot of content to digest, and then Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, there's all sorts of drills on there that's awesome, right? And there's ways to apply those. But if you're not training the right way, then you're going to train bad habits into yourself in the first place.
Which we all get to see when the season starts back up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the people who have been dry firing and the people who have been dry firing right.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I'd
I mean,
rather
first
see
match
them-
of the season, you see them, right? I mean, and we saw a lot of it today, right?
That's what
mean,
I was
it's-
about to say. I'd rather see him in a venue like we had this weekend than Texas Three Gun Championship.
Right, because in the venue we were in today, I mean, how many times did you stop somebody like in the middle of the day, start running on a stage or start running a drill, and you're like, wait, no, stop. We're not gonna reinforce that negative behavior,
Yep.
right? So we're gonna break that cycle right here, and I want you to think about it as you go through this, right? And so, you know, when we did the transition drills or the dump bucket drills and just doing that and having somebody stop you in the middle of it, because who's going to stop you when you're sitting in your basement and it's 38 below and you're in freaking Minnesota, right? And
I will. I'll stop you.
But you got to see them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my point. If nobody is there and you're just doing bad reps,
Yeah.
you're just going to get bad behaviors, right? And it's because you
Give me
haven't
the shotgun shell.
fidgety joke. It's because you haven't had, you know, bad reps lead to bad behavior.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? And then it becomes a bad habit.
Yeah.
And once it's a bad habit, it's almost impossible to break. Right?
Yep.
We were talking about pinning the trigger back during this match. And interestingly, for whatever reason, even though, you know, I was in law enforcement for 13 years and military for 5 years before that, either I was never taught or I was just rebellious and it never stuck.
You?
I know,
Bill
I know
rebellious?
that's shocking. It was probably the first one. I'm sure it wasn't the second one.
I think it's the latter.
So for whatever reason, I mean, when we did that drill and you wanted us to literally force us to pin the trigger back, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, I could not do it. The habit is so strong that I could not get myself to do it. It was weird. It was bizarre, right? And you think about that, all these people who are out there right now training without the guidance of a coach, training without the guidance of somebody who, I mean, the product that you have with the one-on-one, you know, online coaching that you're doing is available to anybody that wants it, right? But they're sitting in their basement with nobody to coach them, right? I mean, I look back and I'm like, man, if I'd have had that 3 years ago where I could have sat in here, you know, and videoed me doing some drills and said, hey, Joe, you know, this is what I'm doing, and have you send it back and be like, why are you doing that? Try this, right? Would have accelerated the learning curve so much.
Totally. It's like we were talking about CrossFit, you know, when you have a coach sitting there looking at you saying, no, knees out, you know, back straight, your back's rounding again. Dave, put that down. Like your back is rounding.
You're going to hurt yourself.
Exactly. Like there's a
step away from the bar.
Yeah, there's a ton of value in that. And I remember when I first started going to CrossFit several years ago, like I had this thought of like, man, it's weird. Like when we are young, we go to school, right? Bill, I'll talk to you. When we were young, we go to school, right? And we learn things. And sorry,
I don't
Joe.
think they know the inside joke there.
Inside joke, Joe was homeschooled.
True story.
Graduated at the top of his class.
And the bottom.
Tough crowd. Dang.
Yeah, this is what it's been like all weekend. But anyway, so when you don't know something and like you're learning something in school, like your times tables or whatever, it's not like the teacher whacks you on the face with a rubber mallet and says like, no, you're an idiot. Why don't you know your times tables? Is that why you didn't go to school? You thought they were going to do that?
No,
But-
they did that in school.
So what I'm saying is like we accept as young people that we're going to learn. I don't know this, but if I sit here and I read this book, I listen to what the teacher says, I try it out myself, I'm going to learn it. But somewhere along the line, we get out, whether it's we graduate high school, we graduate college, we get out of the military, whatever, we assume like, I'm good. I got it. And as adults, it's sometimes hard for us to seek further education, whether it's, ego or whatever, or we think like, I should be able to teach myself this. I should be able to work through this. Where you can shortcut anything. Like I I wanted to make a podcast. I watch YouTube videos on how to make a podcast. I listen to podcasts about podcasting. I learned how to do it. I didn't sit there and try to figure it out my friggin' self, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, especially like in this, I guess, kind of like ego-driven sport, right? You know, because we're all type A personalities. A stands for a-hole.
And it's not just in this sport, though. I mean, I deal with that in my own industry because I teach people every single day, and most of them are older adults, right? And I teach something that's highly technical, but I have to overcome that hurdle that you're talking about of once we've got our education, then we know it all. Well, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Right? Education is not something that stops when you're 18 or 19 or when you're 24 or 25.
Right.
It's something that should go on forever. And you were talking about that, how you're just a consummate, student of our industry and of our game. And that's the only kind of instructor that I would want to learn from, right? Somebody who's a student. I have that obstacle to overcome because people think they can teach it to themselves.
Yeah.
And ultimately you can, right? But there's a cost associated with it. And the cost associated with it is significantly greater time and money.
In your industry, it's like it could be disastrous amounts of money.
Catastrophic.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? I mean, I know I have students who come to me after they've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to teach themselves to trade the stock market, right? And they'll come to me, and it's hilarious because they're like, $500 a month to learn from. I'm like, you just lost freaking six figures in the market trying to teach this stuff to yourself. Look, I mean, literally, we're talking about it today. I'm like, I'm to the point in my career where I'm like, I don't even want to teach you. I don't, right? I mean, because look, if you're going to lose six figures and then you're going to come to me and bitch about $500, well, I got nothing for you, right? You go lose another six figures and come back and talk to me. When you're ready to learn this and pay for the education, I'll teach it to you. It's the same thing with Joe. It's the same thing with all the trainers out there because you look at people who are going to matches. We're talking about it today.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 years, I've probably been to 20 or 30 major matches, 3 to 4 years. That's an investment of $30,000 to $50,000.
Yep.
To get the same result. Where, I mean, I'm like kind of pissed off because I'm like, freaking $500 in one weekend. I move up like, my skill set, my times were getting crushed and it was pissing me off. I mean, I'd run a stage and I'm like, damn it, I crushed that.
Bill's a little bit hot right now.
A little.
So Bill, what is it then that you see out of the people that come to you that make them different from the people that just refuse to ever get any sort of training whatsoever?
I think there's a portion of any population that is predisposed to understanding the value of education. Now, there's two types of people that fit that mold. One, the ones that have been beat up enough, right, that they're finally just like, screw it. I need help, right? I mean, rock bottom becomes a really good place to build the foundation for your future, right? I mean, it's just, it is. Some people got to hit rock bottom first. Then there's other people, and we saw that at this exact dynamic at the workshop this weekend. There's other people who get in, and they look around and go, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I've got to find help. And it's interesting because in 3-gun, because of what you're talking about with the type A personalities, you got a lot of people who are like, oh, I can totally do this myself.
Yeah. Plus, because 3-gun is an expensive sport, you have people that are like successful in another arena. And so maybe it's like an ego hit for them to say like, well, I'm a investment banker or I'm a doctor, I'm a dentist,
lawyer,
or I'm a highly accomplished engineer or whatever. For me to go and get training, that's admitting that I don't know everything or that I'm not competent.
And my answer to them is, did you get your law degree? What were you born with that? Right?
Yeah.
That just freaking appeared
exactly.
by divine intervention.
But that's what I'm talking about. Like, once
learned
they
it from
got
somebody.
that degree, it's like, okay, well, I'm done now.
Well, I think another part of this is, too, that matches are fun, right? We have a lot of fun at matches.
Yeah.
That's why we do this sport. If it wasn't fun, nobody would be doing this. And that's a huge key for me.
Because if no one else did, then I'd win.
But no, I think a big part of this is that we like to have fun at these matches, and so this is I can take this on as myself too. Starting out, is my opinion was I could either go spend that money to take a class and quote unquote put in work, right, to better myself, or I could go shoot a match.
You just made that sound bad to put in work to better yourself.
Well, no,
Was that really your attitude?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that I would pay the same money to go take a class and put in work. Right? We use that term, put in work, right? You got to put in the work if you want to get good. You got to put in the work. The work is fun, right?
Yeah.
I have so much fun doing this, and in the the class environment, every class that I've taken, whether it's law enforcement related, whether it's 3-gun related, whether it's USPSA related, whether it's anything, any class, any business classes included, those classes are fun. You meet cool people, you click, you vibe, and you enjoy the experience itself. We had a blast this weekend.
Yeah. You know, a lot of the dudes in the class knew each other too. Like, it seemed like they came in like small friend clumps, right? So if you're afraid of taking a class, do what my buddy Bill Loda did and talk your other buddies into doing it with you.
Absolutely.
For sure.
As much fun as like the squad environment is, like in a class, it's that much fun. You know, like that's what you're going to bring in with it. So bring like 5 or 6 buddies, put together like a class and get some training, and it'll be one of the best things you ever did.
On the flip side of that, I came into this class the last couple of days with JJ.
Way to shit all over my point.
No, dead serious. Like, so everyone else, I was the odd man out. Everyone else came in with a couple people from their agency.
And you had
right?
no fun, and JJ was mean.
No. I came in separate from everyone, and I was the odd man out coming in from Florida. Everyone else is from Texas. All the law enforcement agencies were from Texas, and I came in solo, and I still had a blast because I made new friends, people that are now contacts of mine for life. If I ever get in trouble in Texas, I know who to call. Bill, obviously.
Don't call me. They're gonna be like, don't name drop.
Don't name drop Bill.
Work out well for you. We need to talk.
It's cool. I know Bill Corcoran.
Yeah.
I'm
be like,
sorry.
Sir, step out of the car.
But on you build relationships no matter where you go. You shoot a match with a new squad of people.
Yep.
You become best friends by the end of the match, and that's the same thing that I found in every class
That's like
that
that
I've
Vortex
ever taken.
Shooter Source squad we had. That was a badass squad.
Yeah, best squad.
And then at the end of today, like dudes are exchanging contact information and stuff like that to because they're all in the general area. So
Well, and they all shoot the same matches,
Yeah.
and the thing is, you get a match environment where you've got kind of the entertainment value that you're talking about, right? But you still get that in a training environment.
yeah,
And, it really just kind of comes down to it. Do you want to – and there are some people who I get it. I mean, we all know who they are. They go to the matches. They shoot them. They're not remotely interested in being competitive. And
it's a social gathering.
It's a social gathering, right? They got to pay $300 to be at the social gathering, but I guess whatever floats your boat. And then there's and those
dog show.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of it's like, all right, fine, I get that, and that is a huge part of our sport and has to be part of it, right? I mean that's like you said,
if that's your thing, like Mazel Tov,
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, have fun with it for sure, but there's those individuals in society that are born with just that competitiveness that. We're talking about it today. If I'm driving down a 2-lane road, right, and there's one car in front of me, and we're both going 50 miles an hour, and the speed limit's 50, I'm going to pass him. I can't help it. I'm like, it pisses me off. The guy's going at 50 freaking miles an hour, the same speed I am, but he's in front of me, right? So I'm going to pass him. What am I going to do? I'm going to go 52.
I thought this was going to be like a camaraderie talk, and it went completely different.
No, I mean,
Bill wants to win.
Well, it's that's exactly it. I mean, that's what drives so many of us in the sport, right?
In life.
And what's interesting is you find the people who kind of find their way through and trial and error their way through to their level of talent or ability and don't ever get any training beyond that, and they're perfectly happy with it, right? And that's fine. I've got no issue with that. They're, somebody's got reset, right? So you got well, I mean, you got to have enough people at the match, right? That's my point. I mean, it's not like, everybody resets, but, if you only had the competitive people there, what are you going to have, right? You got 10%.
It's not going to be any fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not. It's cutthroat, and it just gets, but
it's going to be the 3-Gun Nation Pro Series. Or it's going to be like the Wyoming Governor's match when they did the shoot-off.
With the shoot-off.
Like, yeah, it's just like, well, they're having fun, but
Yeah, Meanwhile, you're like, well, all right, whatever. But you got to have. There's all different kinds of people that will float that boat, right? Mm-hmm. But somebody in that group is going to be competitive and want to break out of the pack. And the best, most efficient way to do that is to get somebody who can coach you, right, and guide you. And that's what we're talking about is the value of training. For somebody who's a middle of the pack person who wants to break out, that's the only way to do it. Right. Get around people who are better than you. Get around people who do something different. It's like Joe said, go outside of your comfort zone. Right now we got a bunch of us who are going to the tactical games that's coming up here in February, and it's just going to be a ball buster. I mean, that is just going to be. I was looking at some of the previous ones and talking to people who've been to it, and it's like, I mean, just the physicality of every single one of the hard as hell, Blue Ridge, and everything else taken to a whole other level, right? Essentially, it's CrossFit meets two-gun is what it is.
Yeah.
And
which is a really cool concept.
It's a great concept, but you look at it and you go, man, I mean, that's a whole different game, right?
This is from a guy who deadlifts several hundred pounds, works out every day.
I mean, I'm at the box, 5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And
even for you, it's like,
even
wow,
for me, I'm like, this is a little intimidating, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I mean, I'm 5-year SWAT veteran, 5-year K-9 veteran, 5-year military veteran. And yet going into that environment and as a 2 now going on 3-year CrossFitter and all of these things and looking at that and going, man, even with all of the shooting background, even with the competitive background, to sign up for that thing. Because, I mean, Dylan Easley and Tess and several other people, Mark Roth, who he was the first one to be posting, like he ordered a rope and put it up in his garage, and he's been climbing this rope, and I'm like,
with a cigarette hanging out.
Yeah, with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
I'm
waiting for him to do it with flip-flops, right? I'm like, freaking guy is amazing. I mean, he's an animal. But, we're all just...
I talked to him the other day. He is pumped about that.
Oh,
match.
He is. Yeah. And Jeremy up from North Texas Multi-Gun, we're all going together. We're all staying in the same place together. So you've got kind of this infiltration of 3-gun competitive people stepping into the tactical world with a bunch of, veteran Green Berets, Rangers, Marine Recon guys. And we're going to go in there and do what we can do. But you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so important what Joe's talking about, that, if you seek excellence everywhere, you'll find it somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. And that, but doesn't happen without having somebody coach you and somebody who's going to be honest with you.
And so Dave, you ran a running gun up in Colorado, and that's another thing that's completely outside of most people's norm. Running a 5K or 10K?
There it was. We told him it was a 5K.
A bunch of Ks. I mean,
we told him it was a 5K. surprise!
And no one asked how far it really was. So,
but that's a whole other thing outside of your typical thing to shoot.
Well, and there was over half the field. I would estimate that it was their very first running race.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Not even had done like a 5K for an elementary school.
I've never done a 5K, but I've done a run and gun because it incorporates shooting, and I like to shoot stuff.
Well, so Joe, what is like your goal for the level 2 class? Like, what's the transformation that you want a student to have from walking in day 1 to walking out day 2?
So the biggest thing for me is to give you the tools, because there's no way that you can take somebody in 2 days and change them from a 50 or 40% shooter to a 20% shooter, 10% shooter.
Which you said that like right off the very first part of the day, and I almost left.
Somebody might have missed you.
I was thinking like, oh man, I thought I was going to get the secret sauce here.
Well, and I hope that you did get some of the secret sauce, because the secret sauce is not that you're going to get transformed in 2 days. You're going to get tools that you can apply, and as long as you apply those tools, you're going to be able to do what you need to do, right? Quote unquote, put in the work. So that's what my goal is for those 2 days, is to give you the opportunity to see, number one, how to train, okay, because that's a big struggle. especially this time of year. How do we train? How do we get things more interesting and new? Number 2, how to apply that training to your actual game. Okay, and so that's one of the things we do on the second day is we actually take the stuff that we did on the first day and the stuff that we did in the first half of the second day and apply it to stages, right? We actually set up stages and we run stages and see how do we apply what we've talked about and apply it to an actual stage and 3-gun. And the stages are never the same.
Right, and so the cool thing was the stages that we ran today incorporated like almost. And I was trying to think about that on the drive over here. I think it was almost every drill
skill
that
set.
we did,
Yeah.
every skill set that we covered on the first day was put into one stage.
Yeah.
On the second day, which was really cool to, you're taking it from that specific drill of like Bill was talking about, grabbing your buttstock, dumping the rifle in the correct way. Like that is a fraction of a second on this stage that is going to be 30 seconds or whatever it was, and you have to put that all together from start to finish, like everything you learned over the first day.
Yep. So that's kind of my goal with this stage is, and I don't have a set way that I do this. So every time that I do it, I have an idea of what I want to accomplish, but every class is different because everyone learns at a different pace, and every class we learn differently. We have a lot of fun, and there's always more, right? There's always more that we can go into. So, the goal is to get you out of there with a whole lot more information that you came in with, and see some tangible gains that you're able to incorporate in your own game right away, and then start applying those daily in your own training, your own dry fire, and then in your own matches as you start going to matches. And I've done that pre-match, like getting ready for a match. I'm actually going to be doing it before USPSA Nationals. We're doing another level 2 class in Florida. Pre-match, we're going to go into this and see what happens to your game when you apply it to an actual match. Okay, and that's my goal. And it's funny because I had, kind of quick side note, I had a student from Alaska that came down to SHOT Show. And I shot the SHOT Show aftermatch with him, the UML match. Tons of fun, great little match. And we had a great time in Alaska back in September of last year, and he came to the SHOT Show aftermatch, and he beat me by I think it was 0.3%. Okay, so for me to go from I'm winning this match to he slides into the last stage and takes me out by 0.3%. It's frustrating as hell. Don't get me wrong. I still like to win.
The guy driving in front of you 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I want to go 52. But seriously, like it was really cool to see him apply some of the stuff that we had talked about in Alaska and apply it to a match and beat me, even though it's
beat you with your own stuff.
Beat me with my own stuff. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that means
that
what he's actually taking and applying. Justin, you're doing a great job, dude. That's awesome. That means you're taking.
Now back off.
No, that fires me up because guess what
Exactly.
I'm going to do? I'm going to go home
Step your game
and
up.
I'm going to step my game up because, like you said earlier, you got that little guy nipping at your heels, pushing you to do better every step of the way. And it doesn't matter if you're in the middle of the pack. There's always somebody there that's trying to push you to do better. Okay, you can look behind you in the scores, and you should be looking ahead of you in the scores. But you're going to see one of these days, if you keep on putting the work in, you keep on putting the fun in. I like to call it fun because really the training is fun. You start putting that time and effort into this game, you're going to see yourself catching up to those people that are looking in their rearview mirror, and suddenly you're ahead in the standings, and they're looking around like, what the hell just happened? How did this guy back here that was like shooting middle of the pack all last year suddenly jump up, and now he's shooting ahead of me? Well, guess what? That guy in the middle of the pack has been putting the work in, and you haven't been. You've been resting on your laurels and saying, "Hey, I'm a decent shooter. I'm top 10 in Texas."
Yeah, that
and
reminds me, like
not getting the training, not getting out there. And I mean, we've seen that a lot. I mean, we saw that out of Jay Christensen 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, guy just explodes on the scene like out of nowhere. Most people were saying, and the rest of us were like, man, I mean, we used to all shoot together in the middle of the pack, and then all of a sudden Jay abandoned us. I'm like, hey, dude, where are you going?
Dude,
come back here. What the hell? You left us out here, right?
Throw a line,
I
man.
mean, he started training with James Gill. He started training, and, again, it's that idea of getting around the people who are better,
Yep.
who are faster, who are going to drive you, who aren't going to BS you and candy coat everything just to make you feel good. Nothing pissed me off more than somebody who's like, I'll run a stage and I'll say, okay, so what'd you think? Oh, you did a good job. Well, I'll just slap the stupid off you, all right? I mean, what the hell? I don't want to hear that I did a good job. I want to hear what I need to fix.
Yeah.
I'm
right?
afraid to tell you that you look like an angry monkey out of there, or out there trying to get peanuts out of like a locked safe.
Exactly. Which I'm fine with because Joe was telling me, he's like, settle down. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, just.
But that is your shooting style, though. And
100% aggression,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
and,
God,
I mean, and that's the thing that's always haunted me. And Joe was able to bring that back and teach us
not
that
measured aggression.
Not measured, no, totally. Just as soon as the cork pops. I mean, it's just
totally
150%.
But then contrast that with what we saw today out of you.
Right.
Holy shit.
I mean, it was amazing to see the what has always just been that unharnessed. I mean, it's like a nuclear freaking explosion. As soon as the buzzer goes off, I freaking blow up, start throwing stuff everywhere. I mean, if I had a bayonet or a tomahawk, I'd be hacking at the freaking target with a tomahawk. If
you should put a tomahawk on your belt.
Totally.
One of the other students, James, he laid down a run on the first stage we did today, I think. Or maybe it was the second stage. Yeah. But it was just like, holy shit, dude.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. Like, watching... Like, James, I'm sorry, man. I know you're a listener. But, like, chatting with him and then seeing that run, you're like, I did not know you had that in you.
Watching him run the first few stages, right? You'd see things that were choppy and you saw, some of the problems and stuff. And then to see him stitch it all together in that one stage and hold all of the skill sets together and demolished it. And looked calm and smooth through the whole thing. Right,
and that was just end up at the end still breathing normally
and smiling.
Yes.
Yeah. Instead of like most of us that hold our breath for 38 seconds during a stage, and you get to the end, you're like, how am I so tired? I go to CrossFit 6 days a week. I do one 38-second stage. I'm about to pass out. Right? It's because again, it's that unharnessed, undisciplined aggression.
Yeah.
Right, and it was one of the biggest lessons from this weekend for me was that idea of there's a time for that 100% all out. But there's a line on that stage where you've got to dial it back from 100 to 10, right? From 90 to 10 or 15. And knowing where that line is where I saw the big breakouts, right? Where I could – because if you go 100% through the whole stage, you're going to start making mistakes because your first natural response when you do that is to tense up and not breathe for the entire thing.
Yep.
Right? But if you go 90% from point A to point B – and 10% from B to C as you're bringing the rifle up and starting to engage targets. In that break from 90 to 10, you take a breath, right? And all of a sudden, everything clears up, and all of a sudden, the stage plan that you had, 8 seconds ago in your head comes back.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah, there's that one target behind the barrels over there. Don't forget that one.
Dave,
right?
I never saw it. It's not like I forgot it.
It just never even.
It did not exist in my world.
Not even in the walkthrough.
Exactly.
So after how many hundreds of conversations have you had on here that said identify the targets? But
dude, I'm a human.
Yeah, absolutely. We all are.
Yeah.
And guess what?
And
humans
class,
need
you're like,
oxygen.
Oh, how many hours of the podcast you been on? Like,
a lot.
Dude, I fucking make mistakes. Give me a break.
Well, and on the same note, the last stage, I ran it. I did not have the fastest time. I'm a human. Everyone's human. Everyone has those issues where we can all improve. There's always improvement. And as humans, Bill, we need oxygen. We need to breathe.
Well, I mean, at He-Man, yeah, because there's no oxygen there anyway, so it doesn't matter whether you breathe or not.
A lot of oxygen here.
At He-Man?
No, here.
Oh, here, yeah.
Like hardly have to breathe at all.
Yeah, no, you go to like He-Man or Rocky Mountain and there's nothing. That's why I go up there an entire week early because it's awful.
Yeah. That was like we did the Breckenridge Spartan race and it topped out 11,400 feet.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah. So I lived at 5,800 feet.
Yeah.
So then when we saw that, like, oh, okay, it's going to run up the mountain. Well, how tall is the mountain? We figured out how tall the mountain was. We're like, oh, shit. Okay, well, we're going to get altitude sickness if we do that. So, because,
Yeah.
Coloradoans, we know about that stuff. So we're like, okay, well, let's get a VRBO on the highest hotel that is on the ski mountain that it was going to be at. And so we slept the first night at 10,100 feet. And then the next day, all we had to do was go another 1,300 feet up, and it was no big deal. But we talked to people that got off the plane from Oklahoma that day, and then they were going up to 11,000 feet. We're like,
Yeah.
cool, see you on the ambulance.
Talk about not breathing.
I did that. I went out a few years ago. I went elk hunting in Colorado. We went
Didn't
up there.
acclimate?
Didn't acclimate.
Yeah.
We went straight up from Florida all the way up there, and our base camp was at 13,000 feet. And it was I was sick for 9 days.
Sure.
And I still went hunting. We saw a lot of elk the day before season opened, and then didn't see a single one the rest of the time.
Because they all got a proclamation. They were all like, hunting season's tomorrow. Time to go hide in the woods.
Look at the time.
Gone.
Yep. So it was 9 days of being absolutely miserable and not seeing a single elk. But no, seriously, the acclimation thing is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you don't know how to breathe, you are screwed.
Well, it's like you say. I mean, you've got to have the oxygen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're asking our bodies to do such a complex mix of skills, and our brains to process information at such remarkable speed,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you talk to some of the guys who go out,
Especially if you candy caning, you lose a
you
lose
candy
a
caning.
shot.
You're
Now
like,
you got to recalculate stuff.
right? You got to do math,
So
on the fly.
Exactly. So you are, like you said, complex mathematics, mechanics. With shooting long range.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, did the wind change? Now, what's my hold for this? That kind of thing. There is a lot to figure out on the clock. Breathing's part of it. Joe
Well,
is
I
great
mean, if
to
you
be
don't
there
breathe,
for-
you can't figure it out. Right?
Joe is great to be the one there to shout, breathe.
Breathe. Take a breath. Take a breath.
You will forever hear me in the back of your head saying, breathe.
Take a breath. Because, if you don't, and it's amazing, but just 10 or 15 seconds of depriving yourself of that.
Yeah.
And you look at it and go, okay, so you've got to process the information as you're running by those 5 rifle targets that we had, right? That really fast array.
Yeah.
And you're ripping that rifle from target to target. And did you break the shot when you hit the C zone or didn't you, right? And you've got to process that information in 0.2 of a second.
Faster.
Do I need to fire a third shot at that target, or did I get the 2 on there? And, how can you call your shots in 0.2 of a second when you're running at a full sprint and you got 4 other targets to be engaging if you've been holding your breath for 15 seconds, right?
Yep.
You can't. You just can't. You're asking your brain to do something it can't. And I've been doing that for years. Literally, right?
I know, yeah.
And getting the same results, and it's not until you have somebody coach you and train you and see what you're doing and know that, look, I've done that too, so I know what you're doing, right? So we're going to break that habit and put you in a totally different mindset. If you don't invest in that kind of training, and that's just one example.
Yep.
Right? How many bad habits, I mean, for your listeners, how many bad habits do you guys have, right, that you know about because it keeps showing up at every single match, and you haven't broken that habit, and you can't seem to. We saw it today, right? We learned some transitions into the bucket. We learned how to dump a rifle, and then when the stage was all set up, right, and the buzzer went, and they take like 3 shots, and they had to dump a rifle, and they went back to doing it the same way they've always done it, right? And you're just like, we just learned that like an hour ago, dude. What the hell's the matter with you?
Just like we got done doing the shooting on the move drill, and then comes to the stage, and what's Dave doing? Planting
and shooting.
Not moving.
Yeah. Like a damn yard of corn right there.
Yeah, seriously. But that's just like
Falling back on old habits.
falling back on old habits,
Yeah,
and not
absolutely.
stretching yourself. But that was the cool part about the class is you can stretch yourself with no consequences, So it's not like you walk away with a winner or loser badge. You take away from it what you put into it,
Right.
and you don't have anything on the line, so you can stretch it, you can push it, and we saw guys pushing it.
Oh
We
yeah,
saw
there was
guys
a lot
pushing
of
just a little bit too far.
There was definitely some times we pushed it a little far, but that's where we can grow, and you grow your mind by pushing things too far.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't push, you're never going to expand. Right. So we have that exploration, we have the execution. So exploration comes before a match, execution comes at a match. You figure out what you can do before a match, you push it there, and then when you go to a match, you execute.
Yep.
So, and that kind of comes full circle as far as like, what did you get out of that? Like, Dave, what was your kind of your biggest takeaway? Like,
Don't put me on the spot.
Okay, Bill, what was your biggest? Dave, the king of being put on the spot. We'll put you on the spot next. But like seriously, like what was something that you can say honestly?
No, I'm just teasing you. I said this this afternoon when we went around the table, the picnic table, and we were talking about the what we learned from the class, and it was I'm not asking enough from myself, and I'm not expecting enough from myself, and that's in shooting on the move.
Yeah,
I have the skill set to do it, especially with the rifle is what we were doing in that one. It's pushing harder between positions.
Mm-hmm.
It's running instead of jogging.
Yeah.
So these are, excuse me, sorry. These are several things that are glaringly obvious to almost everyone I shoot with.
Mm-hmm.
And like Bill said, everyone's just going to kind of pat you on the back and like,
Good job.
Good job, Dave.
Good job.
Yeah.
Piss me off. You ever want to piss me off in a match? Tell me I did a good job on a stage. That'll freaking do it.
But honestly, like that's people are afraid to say what they really think and afraid of your response to them saying what they really think.
Yeah.
And then they want to sugarcoat it. Like, hey, maybe you could move a little faster on that. And then Joe, you're paying Joe to say, run.
Run your ass.
Move.
Fat ass out there and move. Right? I mean, it was literally.
Get off the X.
Yeah.
Like, move.
Yeah.
We were literally standing on X's. That's not a James Yeager reference.
No, we were actually heels on the X's was the start position. So, no, but seriously,
Dave, get off the X.
Yeah, get off.
Are you stuck? You got an anchor? What's the problem, man?
Yeah. So that was my biggest takeaway from the class, among many other takeaways for sure. Bill, how about for yourself?
I mean, for me, it was the idea that it's kind of interesting because the idea of you can condition your body to conditioning, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People will go out and want to lose weight, or they start lifting weights, or we see it a lot in CrossFit, and you get the longer you're in it, the more conditioned you become, right? The harder a person you become, the tougher you become. So you could leave for a week and then come back to CrossFit, and yeah, you're going to be sucking wind, but you're not like the new person who's in there who might still be in shape, but they're in shock from this, right? Mm-hmm. It's a mindset, and the mindset was the big thing for me. That was the huge takeaway that if you will train, you're always going to fight how you train. You're always going to play the game how you practice, right? And my problem is that I've always been practicing kind of in the echo chamber or in a bubble, training by myself. And the mindset of when I'm training there is very skill-based. It's very, isolated on one or two things, right? I'm going to work the swing drill across the plate rack, right? I'm going to run to this side of the wall and then run back to this side of the wall. But there's no stress, right? There's nothing there. And then all of a sudden you add in the stress of multiple skills and people watching you and a buzzer and a timer and all these things.
Even people that are there rooting for you to get better and are there to get better themselves.
Doesn't matter because it's that competitiveness,
exactly.
Right? And so instantly, all of a sudden, what skills that I can go out on that very same range, on my range, and perform with perfection or close to it, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Saturday, when Joe's there and there's 5 or 6 other people there, now the adrenaline gets going. Now it's there's a guy in front of me driving 50 miles an hour, and I got to show these guys how fast I can be on my own rate, and everything, the wheels fall off, right? So what I took away from it is train in that mindset, right? Mm-hmm. Condition yourself to have that clear mind, to be focused, but not. It's kind of what we talked about when we did the book report podcast, right? I mean, all those years ago, talking about having that ability to go into the habit of having a clear mind when you settle in and they say, is the shooter ready, right? Instead of when is the shooter ready, every muscle in your body tensing up and your heart beating 1,000 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you do this. Right? And you just hold your breath and you're like, I'm ready. You're not ready, for crying out loud. I mean, it's not like you're doing a 700-pound deadlift. Just freaking relax for a minute, right? That was the thing that hit me, is that I've got to get to that point where I need to get outside of my comfort zone and expose myself out to other groups of people who are going to be out there, to train with people outside of my comfort zone, outside of my bubble, so that I'm constantly exposed to that stress, that trigger for the adrenaline, and be able to condition myself to dial that adrenaline back and go, when they say shooter ready, I take a big, deep belly breath, blow it all out, everything relaxes, and the nod is, yeah, I'm completely relaxed. I'm 100% focused. I'm 1,000% present, and I'm ready to execute my plan.
Boom.
And that, to me, was the big takeaway. Mm-hmm. That's something that did not happen in 5 years of showing up to matches. And, because of what I do in my business life, I have the resources to go out and go to as many matches as I want, right? Buy as much ammo as I want. Buy whatever guns I want. None of that matters. None of that has gotten me over the plateau that I got over today in understanding, because there's somebody there putting things in context and saying, stop.
Yeah.
You look like you're about to jump in a freaking cage with a wild animal. All right,
one-legged monkey over here.
Yeah,
on the stage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when Parker starts to freak out. I'm like, it's okay, buddy. It's okay.
Well, it's not okay.
At the end, he's like, it's Bill, unload, show clear, buddy.
It's okay. Take a breath.
Don't stab anyone.
We're going to go back to the start while they reset that, and you're going to do that
Self-analyze.
again. Right? But that was just it. It's just that, to the transition from shooter ready causing that immediate adrenaline dump and the instinct to, I'm serious. You put a tomahawk in my hand, I'll go out there and chop the head off every one of those targets. I don't care, right? But to be able to relax, take that breath, now I'm ready to fight, right? And it's interesting because I've experienced it in my MMA stuff. I do some amateur MMA stuff with both of my sons. I've experienced it in other arenas, but it never really came full circle until today that it was like, you can't get in a fight and be all tensed up. Mm-hmm. You won't last 30 seconds, right? You're fighting anybody who's any good at all. They see you tensed up like that, they're just going to stand over there until you wear yourself out and then they'll come over and beat the crap out of you, right? So you've got to relax. You have to breathe, and you have to be. It's really weird because it's a very intense place on one hand, and an ultimately very relaxed place on the other hand.
Yeah.
And when those two come together, that's the zone. And I'll be honest with you guys, today on both of those stages, but especially, the first stage that we did, the second time I went through it, was the first time in my 3-gun career where I felt that balance between those two. And I was moving like freaking lightning and shooting and engaging things, and was moving through this, but was so relaxed.
And everybody else saw it.
You could see it in your back.
Oh, yeah. Everyone. Yeah, Dave, you were behind him. You saw what was going on. Everyone else saw that from the backside, saying, "Holy cow!" Things came together, right?
Yeah. All of it.
Things came together,
and I'm not kidding. Like, you could see tension in your back on the first day, and then you look so much more relaxed in your shooting posture the second day, especially that run that you're talking about when you just like laid waste to like all the rifle targets.
Laid waste to everything.
Crushed it. It was and that wouldn't have happened without a professional coach that I'm willing to pay. Look, I'm willing to pay for you to come down here, show up on my range, or I'm willing to fly out to your place and show up at your range and spend time and let's talk about these things that have been haunting me for 4 or 5 years that I can't get over by myself. And you're right. A big part of it is ego. A big part of it is, I got this.
Right.
5 years later, $30,000 in entry fees. I might not got this. Maybe. I'm not sure yet. Maybe another $30,000 in entry fees and we'll talk, right? No,
help.
Yeah. This was the year that I'm just finally, I'm like, look, If you're not willing to make that investment in your training, then two things. Either you're not serious about this, which is fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's
if
a
you're
place
not
for
serious
that.
about this game, there's nothing wrong with it.
If it's like golf for you, that's cool,
Exactly.
man. At least it's not golf.
Right? and the thing
like
is,
golf for men.
well, we joke about it, but it's kind of like, is it a hobby? And I don't know that I know I have never had a hobby.
Yeah.
I can't have a hobby, right? A friend of mine came over when I was in law enforcement, and he was like, hey, let's go mountain biking. I was like, mountain biking? What is this? All right, this was way before you were even born.
Joe.
So I was like, all right. So I went out and I bought a mountain bike. Right? Within a year, I'm running the law enforcement competitive mountain biking circuit. Right? I mean, I just can't freaking – it's just not –
Only in New Mexico.
I mean, we ran all over New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming. I mean, we ran the circuit everywhere. And I went duck hunting with a friend, and he had a retriever, and I was like, man, that's cool. She went out and picked up all those. So I went and got a dog, found out you can compete in competition hunting retrievers. Within 2 years, I had the biggest retriever training kennel in Texas. We're competing all over the country, right? It's just that drive to compete. So either it's a hobby, which is fine, right? I don't have I love that. I love the people who come out to Three Gun. There's no community in the world like it.
100%.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because you do have people who go out there, and they just are so much fun to be around, right? I mean, they're just great people, and they're there. You watch them shoot, you can cheer for them, and you see them do their thing. And good, bad, or indifferent, they had a ball.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So
Right?
I guess to kind of sum up what you're saying, Bill, and tell me if I'm right on this, is figure out what Three Gun is for you. And if it's like a social activity, totally fine. Do it your way.
We'll see you at the match. We'll see you after the match.
Yeah,
we'll drink
hang out
whiskey
with you.
together.
Shit, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Jake Carrillo, he's got all the whiskey.
if it's a hobby that you want to be good at, that's cool. If you want to be serious about competing, that's cool too. Decide what you want to do, and then act accordingly.
Exactly, and that was the thing that I wasn't doing was the act accordingly part, right? And it's either because it's something you don't take serious, and that's where I came to. I came to a crossroads when I was at the Pro-Am, right? I was really frustrated with my performance at the Pro-Am last year. I was pissed. And, because I had slipped back. I mean, it's one thing to stay the same place, but I had gone back down in the standings, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And I was making the same stupid mistakes, and I was doing the same things, and I know there's something wrong, right? And I had to look at it and say, look, either you're not serious about this, which is never the case with me, right? So I knew that wasn't it. The only other alternative was either you're not serious about this or your freaking ego is so inflated that you won't humble yourself to the idea of having somebody step in and help you learn to be a better shooter. Once I got over that, and it was ironic that you posted that Instagram post because I was like, well, what the hell? This guy trains. I'll talk to him, right? And we talked at that event, and I was like, I want to come out and do some training with you. That was a huge step for me.
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, for one, I'm old enough to be your dad. Two,
True.
I'm not that kind of person who easily succumbs to saying, I need help.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
None of us do, though.
Exactly. And then,
I feel like I'm okay with it.
are you?
Do you?
Yeah. I ask for help in a lot of things.
See, I mean,
I can see that about you, though.
Yeah, I'm the worst.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I'll have car parts everywhere, and I'm like, no, I can get this back together.
You too, baby.
YouTube,
yeah.
exactly. Like it did.
How do you rebuild
not how
a
it
Chevelle
looked.
SS?
so Joe, if folks want to put together one of their, a class in their own backyard, like Bill did, how would they go about doing that?
You could reach out to me. And I'm on all sorts of different platforms. Instagram at Joe_Farewell. Shoot me an email at Joe at farewellfirearms.com. Hit me up on my website, farewellfirearms.com.
That's too much. Pick one.
So yeah, lots and lots of different ways to hit me up. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
Phone number.
That's
phone
way
number.
too much. Pick one.
Okay.
Joe at farewellfirearmstraining.com.
Joe at farewellfirearmstraining.com.
There we go. We'll go with that one.
That's my email.
People can only remember a certain amount of things. Joe
There
at
you go.
farewellfirearmstraining.com.
And then
go ahead.
no, and then just like Bill was saying, he picked me up off of Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe, _for Farewell. That's where I'm at all the freaking time. That's where I post my daily life pretty much.
Where
as far
we
as
chat like every day.
Yeah, we chat all the freaking time on there. And I talk to a lot of people on there. And the beautiful thing about that platform is we're able to talk about all sorts of different stuff. And we can talk about different drills. And I post drills on there, and we figure out how to do things better. That's where you and I connected, right, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love that platform, by the way.
Yeah, it's way better than all the other ones.
Range day.
All right, dudes. Well, this weekend has been awesome. So, Joe, thanks for coming out here and doing the class. Bill, thank you for hosting it. This has been amazing. It's been really good for me, and I'm excited to put together the stuff I learned from the class.
Most definitely.
Dudes, thanks for being on the podcast.
Absolutely, Dave.
Thanks for having us,
It's
Dave. It's
awesome.
always a good time.
It's an honor every time.
Right on. Let's go climb that rope.
Yes.
I need another whiskey.
Hey, before you take off, if you're into this type of content, check out patreon.com/3gunshow. That's Patreon. There you will find bonus podcasts, all kinds of other different benefits of being a supporter of the 3-Gun Show. And you can support yourself for as little as $5 per month. That's patreon.com/3gunshow. Quick reminder that if you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcast content, so you will always get the very latest. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll see you on the range.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.